to another episode of the review. It's the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network, featuring us, the OSG, aka the Online Sports Guys. This week it's me, Brother Phil, Brother Wilkie below, and Brother John above here in the Zoom look.
Yeah.
Brother Marty kind of deferred this week due
He had a rough night.
Oh, yeah.
he had a rough night, and
Whew.
he said he is injured and out this week due to a damaged vocal cord from yelling.
And so you get me.
But yes, we do get Wilkie, host of the College Football X. Also can be heard here on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network midweek every week,
Yes.
where we have intriguing guests who talk about everything that goes on in the world of college football. And guys, this
There's
week
your
we're going to talk about some crazy games because it was a really fun week. And we'll start off with the game that Marty kind of lost his vocal cord on. That's the Oregon-Ohio State game, the game of the century this week.
Yes.
A game that Oregon held on and won 32-31.
Can we talk for a second about late in the game as the last drive, and basically what ended up being the last two plays, and where Oregon decided to put 12 men on the field with 10 seconds to go.
Yeah,
The clock management got a little crazy.
Well, but the thing is, on that particular play where Oregon had 10 men on the field, that was not a completed pass.
No, it wasn't.
And you don't get the time put back on the clock.
Right.
So 4 seconds run off the clock. You're down to 6 seconds to go after a penalty. And so your field position is, I think, like at the 38-yard line or something like that. And so what you've done is you crushed the time clock and the time availability for the idea of trying to set up for a possible game-winning field goal. And then you end up with
which went out the window on 3rd and 20 when Will Howard went for a 12-yard run.
Right. And then the clock expires before after you slide and before you slide. And so the time management of the last two plays, I give kudos and huzzas to Dan Lanning.
And I would expect Ryan Day and the Ohio State Athletic Administration to maybe have a conference with the Rules Committee about maybe looking into adding time back on the clock when such egregious penalties like that happen. 12 men on the field, personal foul maybe. That might be something the Rules Committee looks into, but that's a good point. However, this was an entertaining game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this thing lived up to everything. And I just can't help to think that the powers that be in the Big Ten were just smiling ear to ear, seeing that matchup for the first time and knowing in the future if serve holes, this is going to be a marquee matchup in the Big Ten in midseason. And you couple that with the Penn State Southern Cal game. And I know you guys last week, John and you and I discussed this in the College Football X about the cross country traveling in the Big Ten and how it affects all sports, especially football, getting your body clock all tuned in. It's just impossible to do. But when you see matchups like that, it's hard to argue against expanding out nationwide like the Big Ten did. I mean, those were two entertaining ball games against four college football, not necessarily blue bloods, but powers maybe, that put on two entertaining games. And I got to think, look, I was locked into the Big Ten yesterday, and there were some great SEC games too that I was locked into, but I was locked into the Big Ten just as much.
Yeah, Brother Wilkie mentioned it. Penn State gets the win over USC in a nail biter in overtime, 33-30.
How about a snapper catching a touchdown pass, by the way?
Hey, a snapper.
Entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing, I'm going back to Oregon and Ohio State, Will Howard and Dylan Gabriel put on a clinic for the Heisman Trophy voters. And it was really who who's going to win this game to who would probably sway some votes. That obviously went to Dylan Gabriel. I thought he had an outstanding game. I thought Will Howard played well too. It's just Dylan Gabriel got more points than Will Howard.
Got more points by one. USC, when they lose,
razor thin margin.
They fall to 3-3 on the season. Speaking of SEC football, a couple of interesting games there. I got to start.
Go, Diego, go, brother. That's all I can say.
Yeah, we'll get to that one in a few minutes. Got to start with the Alabama-South Carolina game. Alabama held on to win 27-25 in a game arguably they might not should have won.
Uh-huh. Ooh, boy.
You think about it. Alabama has only played one good half in SEC play, and that was the first half against Georgia.
Exactly. Because they fell apart in the second half of that game and have not been the same team since.
No, they haven't. Although they made some big plays against Vanderbilt. We know the outcome of that one because Vanderbilt matched them. But to me, the epitome of the South Carolina-Alabama game was the last 5 minutes of the first half when it was that is the craziest 5 minutes of football I've seen in a long time.
I mean, if you thought that the Feinbaum show Monday previous what was a zoo because of what happened against Vanderbilt, don't think for a second that the Monday program for Paul Feinbaum for the second week in a row, it won't be just as crazy because this is unacceptable. We didn't win by enough. You know, you didn't win by enough as opposed to winning, period. So
I want to hear what Legend has to say.
So you're
strike two, man. You're on strike two.
So you're saying it's not going to be sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns out in the state of Alabama come Monday?
No, your bowl of Lucky Charms will be the only thing close to that if you decide to pour that into your bowl for breakfast.
So exactly what I had for breakfast today, John. How'd you know?
Man, I'm jealous.
Hey, well, you know, I talked about the craziness in the first half. How about the end of the game?
Yeah, onside kick, interception.
I've never seen side spin on an onside kick before.
But it's brilliant.
I have seen it before. I just never seen it work effectively because it usually doesn't go 10 yards if you side spin it.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've seen. But I was watching the game. I'm on location in Hilton Head, South Carolina, by the way.
No, you're not.
And I was watching a game at a pool bar with a bunch of South Carolina fans. Oh. And you talk about a range of emotions in a short period of time. Oh, my gosh.
Well, you want to talk about range of emotions. One guy who is in our business who I have some serious empathy for this morning is screaming Todd Ellis. And
I heard the radio call.
So you're saying that Todd Ellis,
they had it piped in.
Oh, he's going to call out with an injury like Marty has today?
Well, no, that's standard Todd, though. Todd, because of stylistics, that's just who Todd is. Todd is fifth gear. You know, I mean, literally, Todd's like slam it into fifth gear, forget what the engine does each and every time out. And it's, you know, if the transmission blows and the oil comes out from underneath the hood, so be it.
He's Gene Deckerhoff on steroids.
Yes. And so what Todd has the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and for a second quarter to be what it was, and for a fourth quarter to be what it was, I'm hoping for the sanity of his vocal cords that Todd Ellis is taking Sunday off.
And having some hot tea with honey.
Hot tea and honey, and maybe taking Monday off, because if he's going to be back for the next game, the tail of the late first half and the late second half probably took a toll on Todd more than any human being probably has had in short order who has that style for play-by-play.
Now, here's the thing for Alabama. What's up next for them? Because it's the third Saturday of October next week. And Tennessee, having their own struggles, awaits them in Knoxville.
Oh, boy. Yeah, as Phil is going all snidely whiplash on us here. The only thing missing is twirling of the mustache. I mean, it's a 3:30 game in Knoxville, and I think that probably Tennessee might have been looking ahead a little bit.
Because they struggled with Florida, a not very good Florida team.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking that they probably thought that they could take care of business. They could do a little Elvis Presley TCB with the lightning bolt and, kind of take care of Florida and just kind of stomp them down a little bit and just, push them and focus on.
But you're coming off a loss on the road to Arkansas. Why
Mm-hmm.
would you look past Florida? You got to get that win.
Hey,
Yes, you are correct.
Florida, Alabama. I'm thinking I think that there were some folks that were sitting there going, yeah, we got this one. We'll focus.
That's on the coaching staff to get them focused for Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how is it? And how many years has it been since you could say somebody's just not paying attention to Florida in a game?
That's a good point.
I'd like to say that every year.
See, I was going with the theory that Florida's just got Tennessee's number, as they had throughout the 90s with Spurrier and Fulmer and even into the 2000s. I thought, oh my gosh, I mean, the hex is still on, even with all the problems Florida is having. And it did go overtime. Florida lost their quarterback as well. So it kind of shaped up to being that, Florida owns Tennessee kind of thing when I was watching the scores fly by. But Tennessee got it done. And now they got Alabama coming to Neyland.
Yeah, and that was one of two overtime games in the featuring top 10 SEC teams. The other one, LSU gets the win over the rollover, the
Ole Miss
laydown,
Rebels.
the Ole Miss Rebels, a team that had to apologize for trying to fake injuries.
Hey,
Please.
Tiger Stadium Magic.
Yep, late touchdown.
That game at Baton Rouge, this is what you get.
Look, when you're a 3.5 point dog at home for a night game in Baton Rouge, it's the easiest play on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even looking at the game in and of itself. When you have all of that evidence come to you, Colombo, before the match starts, before the game starts, for me, that's the easiest play on the board. I'm getting points for LSU, and they get to talk about family.
Well, John, what is it with you and 70s cop shows? 2 weeks ago, we had Quincy on the College Football X, and now we go Colombo.
He's a product of his environment.
What's next, McMillan and wife?
Don't tempt me.
Barnaby Jones?
McLeod.
Or
McLeod. Probably going to be something involving Rutgers and a loss, and I'll talk about McLeod and a horse.
Oh, some other scores here.
William Conrad in his boat.
Yeah, that almost sank because of William Conrad.
We don't even really need to get into Texas too much in this game. They played Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry and won easily 34-3.
Don't you think Texas is primed right now with Georgia coming into Austin?
A lot about them here in the second half of the show when we talk about upcoming games.
I've heard of them.
Big win for who is it? Arizona State knocking off Utah 27-19. And I got to see if I can find the audio. I know it's online. Kenny Dillingham's post game.
Oh my God, the minute and a half of Kenny Dillingham. You don't need to be talking to me.
Absolutely epic and a huge win for Arizona State.
Well, that leads me to this, Phil. Have you checked the Big 12 standings? Because it's completely upside down from what it was when the season started. You got BYU, who I think is really good right now.
Very good. Football.
Iowa State, undefeated, both of them. Iowa State is a great story, as well as Texas Tech. Texas Tech was supposed to finish near the bottom of the league, and here they are at the top, unbeaten in the league at 3-0. Oh, by the way, Kansas State, who was predicted to finish second in the league, they're holding their own while Utah's sinking. And then you got Arizona State, which they were picked to finish in the basement, and here they are in the mix.
Yeah.
Again, great job by the Big 12 to add these teams, and it's proving to be very entertaining as well. But you look at the Big 12 standings, I mean, it's a free for all.
Yes.
And you got to really like Iowa State. I mean, that team, the way Matt Campbell's built that team, and forget about Brocktober. You got Rocktober now under center for Iowa State. And Rocco Becht.
66 points allowed in 6 games for Iowa State, by the way. And I mean, 37 points allowed in the 3 conference games so far. So you're averaging 11 points a game allowed on defense overall, 12.5 points allowed in conference. But the bottom of the Big 1-6, or I guess it'd be the Big XVI instead of the Big XII. Kansas, Baylor, Oklahoma State, all 0-3. TCU, Utah, and womp womp. How about the Cougars, UCF, and Arizona? They're all 1-2. That's the lower half of the conference right there. 1-2 and 0-3. And you got some heavyweights that have only won once or have not won at all. And I look at the situation in Stillwater, and I scratch my head, and I just wonder how
better than they are.
Well, yeah, and I wonder how much more of a leash that Mike Gundy has. Maybe his hair is protecting him from the slings and arrows of the boosters. I don't know. But when you're 0-3,
curious mullet of Mike Gundy.
Yeah, when you are basically doubled in your scoring in conference right now.
Well, I think his leash is still pretty long because he's a lifer there. He's a quarterback for that team. He was an assistant coach, offensive coordinator, head coach. He's been there. He's a lifer, and he's won. So he's going to have some leeway for some mediocre years. Now, this one is probably this is kind of a one-offer. I'm sure they're going to the powers that be feel with Mike Gundy, but he's going to get another shot, maybe 2, to build that program in the new world of college football. But he's also a coach that knows how to play the field. In other words, if there's a better job opening, he can use as leverage to get what he wants from Oklahoma State. So I wouldn't discount that either, using each other for that. So I don't think anything's going to happen in Stillwater in the near future.
Well, it would beg the question to me, have they peaked, and have they hit the point where they can't get any better than they currently are, which would lead me, if I'm the powers that be at Oklahoma State, the question is, do you want to try to compete at a higher level than where you're currently at?
So here's what I do. Mr. Pickens. And then you go to T. Boone and his folks and go, okay, we need to have something other than a shiny stadium. We need to bring in players and then see what his thoughts are about the NIL-ness of things.
Well, no, there's plenty of financial support there for Oklahoma State, especially now that Oklahoma has left, and now you got split loyalties. There's oil money out there. The Phillips 66 family contributes as well. There's other deep-pocketed boosters there in Stillwater and throughout the state of Oklahoma that bleed orange and black over crimson and white. And now that the two are split off and don't play each other anymore,
step in then, people.
It's a different vibe now in Oklahoma, and I think they're adjusting. I don't think Gundy's going to go anywhere because of how, again, he's a lifer. He's had success. He's going to have a little bit of a long leash to get it right. Probably 2 years from now, if this is the case, I think he would be on the same hot seat as Billy Napier.
And Mike Norvell.
Oh, yeah, and Mike Norvell.
I had to stick that one in there. Speaking of interesting games, you got to go circle back to what John started with Diego Pavia, because Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores moved to 4-2 on the season, 2-1 in the SEC after they beat Kentucky in Lexington 20-13.
Go Diego, go! Ha ha! Try and stop him. I mean, think about it. Right now, Vandy is 2-1 in conference, 4-2 right now. They are 2 wins away from being bowl eligible,
with half the left to go.
Yeah, you got half the schedule. You could go 2-4 And then if you're smart, maybe you go to the insert sponsor here game downtown and try and see what happens there, pre-Christmas. But right now at that group that's only got one loss in conference, Vandy's a part of that group. They've got Ball State coming in this week. And so you figure that's probably win number 5. Then Texas comes to town.
Oops. Gulp.
Well, and then you're at Auburn, you play South Carolina, you're at LSU, and then you play Tennessee to finish things up. So Ball State, you take care of business this week, then you just need to win one of your final 5 to become bowl eligible. And the boss is looking at the game after Texas, frankly, on November the 2nd, and that being win number 6. So
Ruled out.
that's where she is. That's where the boss is right now. She is looking to see Diego Pavia in 2 separate uniforms come to Auburn and beat Auburn twice in two different uniforms.
Yeah, that's not going to be a storyline, is it?
Nah.
One thing, as you recall from the college football accent, the voice of the Commodores, Adam Allegretta, and I talked about was backing up that Alabama win and what a tough chore it was to go to Lexington to play a Mike Stoops off defense.
Yeah.
And after that incredible win and coming off that incredible high, and Vanderbilt was able to focus in and do it. I thought the Kentucky defense played rather well against Vanderbilt, but Diego Pavia is just that much better of a talent. And let's call a horse here. Vanderbilt is physical in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Something we really don't talk about with them. And they've got some depth. They've got some depth and some speed on the edges.
What have you done with Vanderbilt?
Exactly. And I tell you, that Texas game is becoming more and more interesting because, look, I don't think Steve Sarkisian is going to be naive to think, well, as his predecessor, his boss, former boss Nick Saban was, and saying Vanderbilt's an easy place to play. I don't think he's got naive, but I don't think they think they're going to walk in with a sure W.
100, get this. Offensive numbers practically 50-50. 147 on the ground, 143 in the air. Of course, if you use your crossover in your Venn diagram, Diego Pavia had 53 yards rushing. He was your second leading rusher in addition to the 143 that he threw 4 in the air. So you're getting 50-50 offense out of Vanderbilt. You're getting you're getting pesky defense and stingy defense where they're not letting you do much. And Bronco Clock was 15-25 for 158, slightly more in the rushing yards. But I think that in a situation like that, let everything happen between the 20s and then tighten up when you get to the 20-yard line. And I think that you're seeing that the defense respond at Vanderbilt to those kinds of situations. And I can't believe that we're saying this about Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's 4-2 right now. Kentucky's 3-3. You go to Kentucky and you win there. You won against Alabama at home. I mean, if Diego Pavia, we know that Diego Pavia is invited to the OSG Athletic Club for the postseason awards.
Mm-hmm.
We know that he would be one of the 5 that's going to be sitting there. If he's not one of the 5 sitting in New York City, then something is seriously wrong with the process.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah,
now I got a question for the floor.
What's that?
Why in the hell did the Missouri Tigers go to Amherst, Massachusetts to play the Minutemen?
It's a good question.
Sure as hell. Well, all right. So when we go to break, I'm going to go look at why this game actually happened, and I'll see if I can.
Okay.
Missouri won easily, 45.
A research project for Mr. Nelson.
In the commercial break. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Speaking of shout outs and potential Heisman Trophy candidates, my favorite for the Heisman Trophy, Ashton Genty. While he didn't average 10 yards plus a carry like he has for most of the season, he still had 31 carries, 217 yards, and a touchdown as Boise State cruises over Hawaii 28-7.
Boo. The cruising over Hawaii part, not the yardage.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Hey, I tell you, he is a special running back, and he needs that Downtown Athletic Club invite as well. He's got one to our dais, our celebration, whatever trophy he gets from us.
He gets the high and hearty handshake and a salute.
whatever Phil can purchase at Dick's Sporting Goods, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. And a shout out to my alma mater because they came back from
Big
a
win. Big win.
3-3 deficit with 6.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. They come back, score 3 unanswered touchdowns with a backup quarterback, and steal a 24-23 win over Marshall.
And a shout out to my alma mater, too, with a huge win over Illinois State in the final year of the Missouri Valley Football Conference from the Missouri State Bears. So big win for the Bears as we get set to join Conference USA.
And shout out to Florida State. They didn't lose.
It's because they didn't play.
But they didn't win either.
They didn't win either. Exactly.
Guys, what do you say we wrap things up here in the first block of the show? When we come back in the second half, we're going to talk about the game of the century this week, part 3.
UMass and Missouri.
Who's got who this coming week? And of course, everybody's favorite segment, college football on a budget. All that and more when we return for the second half of the review. You are listening to the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Please like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. You have made it to the second half of the show. Before we get going on next week's schedule and college football on a budget and all that other fun stuff, John has an answer to our question about why Missouri made the trip up to play UMass at UMass.
Yeah, according to our friends at Athlon, the reason is a gentleman by the name of Nick Juice, a former associate athletics director for the Minutemen who worked in the program's media relations office from 2000 to 2003. After a lengthy tenure at Baylor, he landed at Missouri in 2017, where he worked on football scheduling. Juice has left Missouri for a job at Iowa State. He reached out to UMass about bringing the Minutemen in for a guarantee game. Discussions started from there. And UMass AD Ryan Bamford said that Nick saw that they had some openings, weren't able to offer enough from a financial standpoint for us to be able to pull the trigger. Asked about what we called a 2-for-1, where we'd go to them twice and they'd come to us once with some financial considerations. And we're actually playing Mississippi State this year as the back end of a 2-for-1. So I just said, Nick, I'm sideways on the schedule in terms of those 2-for-1s. I just have too many away dates. So let me put you on. Would you come and play here? Juice asked about moving the game to Gillette. Bamford held firm about keeping all home games in UMass, and they agreed to a home-and-home with a return game in Columbia coming in 2025. So that's your answer.
Okay.
Never hurts to ask, I guess, basically is the best way to describe this. So,
Ask for everything, hope for half.
Correct. Half, Eddie, half. So there you go.
Guys, we had a pretty crazy week this past week, and looking ahead to the upcoming week number, what is it? 8 college football season.
8, maybe.
And we've got some pretty good matchups. We got to have, I guess we kind of need to, I feel obligated to start with the game of the century this week, part 3.
Sure.
And that's the Georgia Bulldogs taking the trip to Austin, Texas, to take on the Texas Longhorns. Primetime game on ABC, 7:30 kickoff. Lots of intrigue here. Both teams have, well, I shouldn't say both teams. Georgia's been kind of inconsistent. Texas has been fairly consistent, but really hasn't played anybody yet.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this one?
Hit it, Wilkie.
Well, I mean, as far as not playing anybody yet, I think Oklahoma was playing somebody. Oklahoma can't help the fact that half their offense is in the hospital right now. I mean, or banged up. I thought they had a slow start because Quinn Ewers was the first game under center in a while, but he did what Quinn Ewers does. Played a great game. Look, Texas is primed right now. They're clicking in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They're dominating it. That's the part where Texas is dominating. They got speed on the edges and depth. They've got not one, but 2 NFL level quarterbacks on their roster, and they get along and it works. and you got a brilliant offensive mind in Steve Sarkisian. I mean, to me, this matchup reminds me a lot of the Oregon-Ohio State matchup. We
Agreed.
just got to hope it lives up to the hype. I mean, two teams
Game of
that
the
have
century
rarely met
season.
are playing in Austin, Texas at DKR. I mean, that excites me. And this is where the SEC can match the Big Ten, even though it's more of a regional conference than a national conference. So, yes, this is a game I'm really excited about. Texas is prime. We know what Georgia can do. Georgia is as good as advertised. They've had one bad half against Alabama. I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to hopefully live up to the hype that Oregon and Oregon State did.
Get in price, by the way, at DKR right now, as we're talking, is $361. That's get in price.
Yeah, that's must see.
I mean, think about the quarterback matchup. Carson Beck,
And
Quinn Ewers.
The two
Again, playing for a Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
And then think about the
arguably
supporting
two,
cast. Think about that supporting cast.
Ewers and Beck arguably playing for the first pick in the NFL draft as well.
Exactly. So, and you got a supporting cast, especially your defense. I mean, both defenses are rock solid. Both got corners that can close like a state trooper. I mean, this is a game I'm really looking forward to.
But if you're Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck, do you really want to be the top pick of the Carolina Panthers right now?
Point well taken. Point well taken. The other big SEC game of the century this month, this year.
LSU at Arkansas.
Alabama taking the trip to Tennessee to take on the Volunteers at Neyland Stadium in front of 110,000 screaming Tennessee Vol fans.
Oh, boy. Oh.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nelson.
Good luck, Kalen DeBoer. That's all I got to say.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Okay, so you've got two teams. Again, great rivalry. I love the third Saturday in October. You got two teams that the last two ball games have kind of underwhelmed.
Yes.
Tennessee losing to Arkansas, which I'm okay with. Alabama losing at Vanderbilt, and then coming back with less.
I'm okay with,
according to their fan base, less than impressive wins. So you got two teams that got to kind of reprove themselves. You got Josh Heupel, who has a little more tenure than Kalen DeBoer, and Alabama fans are I'm just going to say the lunatic fringe.
They're calling him Husky Harzen. They're calling him the Husky Harzen, by the way.
Yes, I know. I heard that. Yeah, the Husky Harzen.
Husky Harzen.
I don't get. All right, so you got two relatively newbies into the SEC that really don't have an SEC pedigree. The intrigue in this one is pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to watch it. If you're asking me who's going to win, I'm flipping the coin on that one. I'm waiting till Saturday because, again, two teams that got to reprove themselves, not only to their fan bases, their lunatic fringe fan bases, but to the nation as well.
As we all rub our collective hands together and get to discuss it for an entire week and then get to discuss it for an entire week after the fact. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's going to be one hell of a game, and I'm looking forward to it.
Ooh, doctor.
Some other interesting matchups here. Undefeated number 6 Miami making the trip to Louisville to take on the Cardinals. That should be an interesting game in the ACC. We've got a couple of interesting ACC games actually coming up this week.
Noon kick, by the way. Keep that in mind from Miami and Louisville. And can Louisville get the jump on Miami with an early start time? That to me, because we always know how pesky these early kicks can be sometimes for folks. Can Louisville take advantage of that for a noon kick as Miami comes to town?
I just think Miami is so strong right now.
I can't openly admit to anything like that, so I'm not going to have that as a point.
And they really, although Clemson's come along now, but Miami really looks like the best team in the ACC. And Louisville started out strong. And full disclosure, I haven't watched Louisville play this year, But I just tend to like Miami in this game because of the quarterback play, because of so many factors that the Hurricanes have right now. I think what really bonded that team was going out to Berkeley and winning against Cal the way they
Don't get
did.
me started on that one.
So I got to go with the Canes on that one.
Oh, I can't by premise, and I will have no such talk.
Yeah, you mentioned Clemson, Wilkie. They're kind of sneaking up on a few people here. They've moved up into the top 10 and have been winning their games pretty convincingly. They host the Virginia Cavaliers, also a noon kickoff at Memorial Stadium in Clemson.
And I kind of like this matchup. Tony Elliott, the head coach of Virginia, was the offensive coordinator for years at Clemson.
And
He kind of knows where the bones are buried on Death Valley. And he's got a really good team this year. They're rebounding nicely after the tragedy a few years ago that happened in Charlottesville, and he's building that roster up. Clemson just looks strong right now. I watched them yesterday and against Wake Forest. Again, they're doing things that Clemson teams in the past 10 years have done. Strong defense. Cole Kublik is playing well. I like Clemson in this game, but I think Virginia is going to give them a little bit of make some Clemson fans nervous, but I like Clemson in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with Clemson. I'm with Clemson here. I think that Clemson is probably going to be tight early. I think Clemson clears the road late. By the way, get in price in Clemson for this one, $19. Not quite football on a budget, but close.
Yeah, very close. A couple other intriguing matchups, and this is one I would say I would put as a lookout for an upset game.
Tulsa and Temple.
No. Notre Dame takes the trip down to Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech in a mid-afternoon game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Interesting that they're not playing at Grant Field.
More people.
Yeah.
More people, and you can charge more.
Yep.
Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King got dinged up a little bit this week in their thrilling win over North Carolina. But if he'll
be good.
Yeah, he'll be all right. Trust me.
Back, this could be a potential upset or a trap game for Notre Dame.
Trap, yeah. I still think that Tech stays with it late, and then I think Notre Dame ekes out a win. Neither team all that familiar with the surface.
True.
And so I think that it's probably going to be slow starting late as both offenses try to figure out how to navigate the turf at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then I think Notre Dame, once again, like we were discussing with Virginia and Clemson, I think that you're going to have Notre Dame work their way late. I think Tech covers, but I think Notre Dame wins.
Well, I'm interested to see what kind of crowd is there at Mercedes-Benz. Is it going to be more Notre Dame than Georgia Tech? Because Georgia Tech is going to have – I would like to see the Georgia Tech mafia come out and make that 75% Tech, 30% Notre Dame.
Then that's 105% capacity then.
True, because I think there's the Notre Dame nationwide alumni is going to – from all over the Southeast is going to show up for this one.
No doubt.
But I would like to see it more Georgia Tech because I really like what Brett Key is doing on the flats. They're physically, that's the most physical Georgia Tech team I've seen since, in 20 years. And they've got some really nice skill players. I really like how they're building and they've gotten some key wins this year. That win over North Carolina, I thought was a good building point for this Georgia Tech team, winning that one in Chapel Hill. But if that's the case, I can smell a little bit of an upset because Georgia Tech's going to be up for that one. I just want the crowd to show up for the Yellow Jackets, and I know it's asking a lot. But I think that would be key for the Jackets because they're not playing at Bobby Dodd. They're playing at Mercedes-Benz. And so any home field advantage is gone. And so this is more of a neutral site game.
Yeah.
And it's going to have that feel.
Neutral site, even though it's 5 miles down the road.
It's a 10-minute drive from North Avenue to
not
Mercedes-Benz.
Traffic.
Yeah. Well.
On a Saturday.
No, you turn
You
right.
mean it's a 45-minute MARTA ride from North Springs down to the Georgia World Congress Center.
Actually, if you turn right, you go out North Avenue to Memorial Drive to a Northside Drive and turn left. It might be 10 minutes, but there is road construction.
Yes. Another interesting sneaky game, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Michigan takes the trip to Illinois to take on the Fighting Illini, and Illinois might actually be favored in this game because they're ranked.
Well, Illinois is good.
Uh-huh.
They're a good football team. They snuck up on people, I guess, by week 3, and they've had some nice wins.
You gave up 49 to Purdue.
They gave up 49 to Purdue. Yeah, I know, but
they won.
They got the win. It doesn't matter. It's a W.
Literally,
Michigan coming in.
This was Gene Katie and Lou Henson yesterday. 50-49.
Did have some games
Two
back.
of the worst hairdos in college basketball. Thank you.
And from what I understand, the game really matched the old hairdos.
Yeah, I could see them playing a game back.
Not that Brett Bielema has better hair than Lou Henson.
That's not saying much, brother.
No, you cannot top the Lou do. Come on. No, look, Illinois got some nice pieces to that team. You could say they were looking past Purdue for Michigan.
Wow.
But no, this is a cool game. I like the Illini. I really do.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I do too. I'm sure Marty, if he were here or able to talk, would agree with us on that.
He hates Michigan.
He would want mutually assured destruction or the team in Champaign to get the Duke. He's no dummy.
All right, guys, those are kind of the highlight games this coming week, but we would be remiss in our duty if we did not talk about everybody's favorite segment, and that's college football on a budget.
Ding, ding, ding.
It's where we look for games that you can get in for roughly the price of a cold beverage, usually a Coca-Cola or soda of your choice.
Correct.
Or carbonated beverage of your choice.
Yes.
And these are games that are scattered around the country, but are worth it if you happen to be in the area, worth taking a trip because you might get to see some pretty good college football and not even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start off. We've got a slate of games on Tuesday, surprisingly.
Yes.
Our first game.
At least you can do Tuesday games on your show.
Our first game, Kennesaw State traveling up the road to Murfreesboro, Tennessee to take on Middle Tennessee State. You get in price as of now $9 at Johnny Red Floyd Stadium in Murfreesboro.
Ding. Ding. I'm going because I think this would be our first trip to Murfreesboro this year. It's even better if Charger is there, the horsey. And it would also be our first look at Kennesaw State, I believe, this season on football on a budget. So it's a bit of a rookie.
Yeah, they've struggled a little bit making the move up to big boy football.
Not a surprise, but yeah. So first, I think this would be our first look at Kennesaw State, even though it's a roadie. And we get to go to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where it is the southernmost location for a White Castle before having to travel any further north. So
White Castle, yes.
Ding. I'm going.
I'm in.
Wow. Wow.
And on Wednesday, Western Kentucky travels down to Huntsville, Texas to take on Sam Houston. Get in price for that game right now, $6 at Elliott T. Bauer Stadium.
In.
Ding. Ding. Hit your button again. It didn't go off for some reason. I don't know why it didn't go.
Western Kentucky has a wonderful I love their uniforms and their logos.
But they got to market them, though. We can say we love them, but I mean, look, until you have the position group chiggers for sale, then come on, man. When they broke out the helmets with the position group mascots last year on the sides, I'm like, oh my God, if you sold those, you would not be able to replenish them fast enough. Sell that stuff. And I know that the googly eyes and the red face, I know that probably sold a boatload too. But this would also be our first trip to Huntsville, Texas, I think, this year. So welcome to the Bearcats with a K. Ding, ding.
We need to find a good barbecue restaurant in Huntsville, Texas.
I don't
feeling there's some good mom and pop places there.
I don't think we'll have a problem, sir.
Nope. I don't think there's going to be any problem with that one at all. We move on to Thursday, where we got a pair of games that are a bargain. First game, Georgia State at Marshall in beautiful Huntington, West Virginia. You're getting price for that game at 7 o'clock kickoff on ESPN2, $7.
Love the Thundering Herd, but I'm going to pass on that one.
Yeah, that has the potential for ugliness written all over it. Or you could take the trip, actually not that long of a trip, down the road to beautiful Blacksburg, Virginia at Lane Stadium, where Boston College will square off with Virginia Tech. You're getting price for that one, $9 in the world's steepest football stadium.
Absolutely, because you've got night game, Lane Stadium, Enter Sandman. Forget it. That's the early lock of the week. You go from Murfreesboro to Lane Stadium, or you go from Murfreesboro to Huntsville, Texas to Blacksburg. You got the early part of your week squared away.
And it's been a while since I've seen the Hokie faithful jump around on a Thursday night in Lane Stadium where it gets absolutely insane. And you got a Boston College team that's fading right now coming into Lane Stadium. So, yes, I'm all over it. Get some good seats. A couple of restaurants I haven't been to in Blacksburg that I need to revisit.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been up there. It would be worth a trip for me too. Gosh, it's been probably, I don't want to say how many years it's been since I worked a game there. Moving on to Friday, Fresno State at Nevada. Get in price $9 at beautiful Mackey Stadium in Reno.
In.
Ding, ding. I'm in for that one because this will be our first trip to Reno and going to catch the Wolfpack take on Fresno.
And I'm going to put some cash on the blackjack table while I'm there, and maybe fund a sports book or two.
Please gamble responsibly.
Yes, please use your juice boxes responsibly.
Moving on to Saturday, a slew of games here. We'll start off with what could be one of the uglier games of the day. Wake Forest traveling up to East Hartford, Connecticut to take on Jim Moore and the Yukon Huskies. Get in price $11.
Nope. Pasadena on that one.
Yeah, there's nothing up in Connecticut I care to see.
Enough said.
Wow. Including the Huskies.
Wow.
Maybe Danny Hurley's team. That's it.
Yeah, wrong season.
Different sport.
And Gino. So that would be the only reason.
And moving on to the Battle of Directional Michigan Schools. Central Michigan at Eastern Michigan. Get in price $11 at beautiful Reinerson Stadium in Ypsilanti.
Really? We've been to Reinerson already. So
Wilkie wasn't with us for that episode.
Huh. Okay.
Two direction. Well, we've talked about in the College Football X. So, yes, X marks the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Directional Michigan schools. I got a couple friends actually that are in the Ypsilanti area, so I would go and hang out and check out the green and gray turf.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out. Have fun.
If you find yourself in the Virginia coastline area, Texas State travels to Norfolk to take on Old Dominion. You're getting priced at SB Ballard Stadium, $5.
I'm in because we haven't been there this year. We haven't been to SB Ballard. I know Old Dominion's 2-4, and Texas State is not the Texas State that had TJ Finley take them to a pre-Christmas bowl game last year. But because we haven't been to SB Ballard in Norfolk this year, I'm going to go ding. I'm not going to go ding, 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 but I'm going to go ding, Texas State and Old Dominion.
Yeah, I have no reason to go, so I'm out.
Gonna pass on that one. Here's a disappointing team, probably soon to be having a new coach. University of Alabama Birmingham under Trent Dilfer makes the trip down to South Florida to take on the South Florida Bulls. You're getting priced $6 at the Ray J.
In.
Yeah, I think I'm in, especially if South Florida can turn this one around and get a win. Trent Dilfer ain't winning no fans at UAB.
No, he's not.
And considering what happened at the under construction / renovation Mikey Stadium on Saturday, getting absolutely thumped by Army, and Army calling off the Dogs halfway through the third quarter. all that needs to be said. UAB, I mean, Tina Servasio had probably one of the sideline hits of the weekend where they had been absolutely, I think it was it Tulane that put 7 spins on the dial on them a week or two ago. So Army scores 3 minutes into the game, and Tina is looking at the UAB sideline, and she basically reported back up to the booth that all the UAB players just looked sad. So when you got that on the sidelines that early into a game, when you're getting thumped, that should be enough to tell you about the state of affairs right now at UAB. I would go just to sit there and see what South Florida's up to, because I think this would be our first visit to the pirate ship this year too.
Yeah, and
I want to go for a couple of reasons. One is whatever I can do to help in the relief efforts.
I was going to say that.
Following Hurricane Milton. The other, and if there's some kind of cause down there that South Florida is part of, I would definitely contribute to that. The other is, I want to see this UAB team because I watched them against Arkansas, and a lot of that was earlier in the year, and a lot of things you brought up, you kind of saw in that game, just no life in that team. And what that tells me is I think Trent Dilfer has got a good football mind. He just doesn't know how to communicate that on the collegiate level. I mean, he talks tough, and he talks about you've got to do this and that. And he's got the lingo down, but every now and then you got to give somebody a pat on the back. Mm-hmm. And I just don't know if he's that type of coach. And to me, he looks like he's better off coaching in the NFL than on the college level, which I think is really his future if he's going to stay in coaching. Is because I know he did the high school ranks. He's now trying the college ranks. But a position coach and on an NFL team, I think is a better fit for him.
Moving on to what could arguably be called the discount game of the week.
Okay, so I know where you're going. Go ahead and say it, and I'll come in behind you.
Rice travels to New Orleans to take on Tulane. You're getting price there $2.
All right, so we tried this last time. $2. I want my $2. We tried this last time. If we can find a way to negate or mitigate the service charges going through a lot of the ticket brokers, what we wanted to do was turn this into an experience for a local charity in New Orleans. Get a group of tickets, maybe 12, because if we can get folks in at $2, then you're like, $24. But what killed us last time were the service charges and the fees, because by the time it ended up being, we were about ready to check out, it was close to $100. And I was like, no, that's not the point. So if we can find a way to mitigate fees and get some folks into Yulman Stadium to watch this game, other than us sitting there and going ding, 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 we can't hit this any harder because
it's going to require walking up to the ticket office at Yulman Stadium and buying them in person.
So if we can find a way to mitigate around it, we're going to try and see if we can get like a dozen or so folks into the stadium so they can enjoy what's going on there. We'll keep you posted. We'll update you on the X. But right now, $2, we can't ding that any harder to try to go and see Rice taking on Tulane.
Moving down.
With a 3:30 kick in New Orleans, John, I guess we'd have to leave, at 4 a.m? To make it to New Orleans.
We'll just fly
time for kickoff.
Fly into Louis Armstrong, and then that way you rent a car or get an Uber.
It's about a 6.5-hour drive. It's doable.
Yeah. All right.
From here, that is from beautiful Atlanta, Georgia.
OSGHQ, yes, absolutely.
Yes. Moving down the list, this one surprises me a little bit. Texas A&M ranked team makes the trip to Stark Vegas to take on Mississippi State. You're getting priced there $5.
Ding. Ding, 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 ding. Can't hit that one any harder for an SEC game in Stark Vegas. Oh, my God. If you can get in at $5, get in at $5.
And we have more SEC football.
Reach a change for me.
Yes.
A couple of maroon teams going at it in Starkville. That tells me that there's no excitement for football in Stark Vegas this year.
Nope.
How cool would it be if they both wore their maroons for this game?
That'd be awesome. Be a play-by-play nightmare if both teams wore their maroons, but it would be But it would
Oh,
it'd be a fun look. And one of them,
somebody's got to wear the white helmet though.
yeah, true. And then somebody we'd have to call them the Ultramaroons.
Oh,
Vandy, baby, Vandy. Go, Diego, go. Here comes win number 5.
if you wanted your chance to see Diego Pavia in action and want to make the trip up to Nashville, watch Ball State at Vanderbilt. You're getting price right now at First Bank Stadium, $3.
Ding, ding, ding. 3 dings from Wilkie, and I can't ding it hard enough. Get in. 4 dings from Wilkie. Hey, $3 to go see Diego Pop.
4.5 hour drive for us, dude.
Hey, man, exactly. Ball State and Vandy. Go, Diego, go. Win number 5.
You can make a full day of it if you start off in Murfreesboro and then make the trip up the road.
It's a full week, man.
I'll call Adam up, see if he can help us out.
There you go.
And I'll wrap up with one more game, one that surprises me a little bit because UNLV is actually a pretty good football team, and they're making the trip up to Corvallis to take on Oregon State. You're getting price for that game at 10 o'clock kick on the CW for $11.
Ding, ding, ding. Absolutely. Let's go through 1AA really quickly. Holy Cross at Harvard Stadium for $5. Lehigh and Yale at Yale Bowl for 10. Stony Brook. Yes. Stony Brook and Towson, $8 at Johnny Unitas Stadium.
Let's see if my sister-in-law can get us tickets. She's a Stony Brook alum and works there.
In Towson, Maryland, that one's there. There are a lot that are under $20 on the 1AA level, but those are the ones that fit football on a budget. So Ivy League football continues to be one of the best bargains on the board for under $10 a ticket.
All right, guys. I think it's time to wrap things up. We've covered a lot of ground this week.
Go, Diego, go.
It was a crazy week of college football. And next week, week number 8 is shaping up to be even crazier. So you'll have to tune in for that. Don't forget, midweek, guys, give us a promo here for the College Football X.
We're going to have stuff. Listen and watch.
Interviews,
on location.
Yes, he's on location. I'm in Studio HD, and we have guests planned and things. So watch and listen to the X here on the network.
All right. For OSG Wilkie and OSG Nelson, I am OSG Phil. We are part of the Online Sports Guys college football team. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will see you again next time. Until then, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Please like and subscribe.
That's what he said.